In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
Often everyone, and welcome to another edition of In Full Zoom. I'm Nestor Licanto, and this week we're going to take a closer look at the 2021 annual conference of the Guam chapter of the Society for Human Resource Management, also known as SHRM. And first of all, let me try and introduce our guests. We have Mr. Johnny Taylor Jr. He is the president and CEO of the National SHRM organization. We also have Yolanda Padrones, the president-elect and the coordinator of this upcoming conference, and Daphne Leon Guerrero, the current SHRM chapter president, also joins us, as does attorney Mike Pangilinan, who's a member and my friend, and he helped set up this show. So thank you, Mike. Let me start with you, President Johnny. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and I understand you just wrote a new book.
I did. So good to see you. And Daphne, Yolanda, Yoli, everyone, hello. How are you? So good to see you. I wish I were there personally. So listen, my training is pretty simple. I'm a lawyer first. Trained as a lawyer, I became an HR guy as a result of my labor and employment practice, and then ultimately became a CEO in for-profit businesses and now in a nonprofit organization like the Society for Human Resource Management. And yes, as a result of that free time that we all picked up during 2020 when the world shut down, I decided that I would venture into writing a book to describe what I thought would be the great pause, 24, 31, 60 days of a break while we sorted this virus, and it then turned into 19 months. And so I wrote a book called Reset, and it's a leader's guide to upheaval, to leading in this period of upheaval. So thank you.
All right. Okay, so let's get that big elephant out of the room first. So this pandemic thing, it hasn't really affected HR, has it?
No, not at all. Not at
all. Tell us about the impact of the pandemic on the HR industry.
Well, so I'm one of these guys that is an optimist eternally, right? And I think if you look for some positives in it, clearly it was negative. From the standpoint, people lost their lives. They lost family members and loved ones. And so hearts go out to that. But there were also some really positive moments here. And most of them revolve around how employees and employers began to rethink work. And we focus so much on lives and not so much about livelihoods. And the pandemic said you've got to do both. People have to be physically and mentally well, but we've also got to make sure that their relationships with their employers are strong and are based in strong cultures. And so as a result of the pandemic, human resources, which was a function that has not always been held at the highest level of reputation, is now at the center of everything. My colleagues know that we oftentimes would say we just wanted a seat at the table. And it feels like for the last 18 months, we were in the middle of the table. Everything was about human resources. So that's what we're talking about right now. Is I think there's real opportunity for us to rethink the importance of people in the workplace.
All right, thank you. And Yola, you've been coordinating the local conference that comes up on the 22nd, I believe. Tell us a little bit about that and your theme for this year.
So our theme is Inspire, and we're really excited. What we wanted to do following, or as we're in the middle of this COVID pandemic, is really engage with our HR professionals or anyone who actually serves as the HR person in their organization and give them back something that they could come feeling inspired. And we have exciting things that we want to roll out. We're focusing on our emerging professionals. We also have a track that is focused on our government to try and get them into the fold. We feel that it's so important that we all kind of band together and learn from one another through this entire pandemic. And so that's kind of what helped us build our programming for this conference. So we're really excited about it. We're really excited to have Johnny back again. This is his third time with us at our conference. So it's such a pleasure to have him on our program.
Yeah, he must like Guam a lot.
I do. I do. In fact, I got to tell you, my daughter is half Guamanian. So my daughter is my child, obviously, and her mom is from Guam. So I actually have a lot of reason to be there, and I was looking forward to coming and bringing her on this trip.
All right, great stuff.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Daphne, so you've been the president and have presided over this organization during this pandemic. Give us an idea of how local HR professionals have had to respond to all of these different things that have occurred as a result of the COVID.
You know, the last year and a half has been really tough for HR professionals, not just, in Guam, but all over the world, I would say. But in the midst of this crisis, I feel like HR has had its reawakening. We've found our purpose because everybody turns to HR in times of crisis. We're the first responders essentially. So it's been the best of times. It's been the worst of times. As Johnny mentioned, we've had to deal with sickness in the workplace. We've had to deal with death sometimes. This worsening mental health crisis in our workplaces. But at the same time, we are actually having these conversations at work. And I think Johnny has said in the magazine, if we can't talk about it, we can't fix it. And that's, it's exactly right, because I'm having conversations with my leaders about mental health in the workplace, about empathy, just about people-centric operations in general, engagement. So it has really opened the door, I think, for HR professionals to step into this role that we've been asking to have, right? So I feel like it has been a blessing for HR. It's been very busy. I have never been more tired in my entire life. We've just been going nonstop for the last 19 months. But let me tell you, I am never more proud to be in HR than when I hear Johnny speak. We had a volunteer conference last November, and Johnny was talking about the empathy gap. And let me tell you, I was just so motivated. At that point, I was like, okay, I am in the right profession. But it has definitely been very challenging. And we continue to see those challenges today.
All right. Speaking of challenges, Mike, you are the second lawyer on this panel. What are some of those challenges that continue? And in particular, there's that one about, mandatory vaccinations. As you know, mandatory vaccinations have been a bit of a controversial topic here in Guam, and I imagine it's been the same way elsewhere. Talk a little about that, the challenges from your perspective that continue.
Thank you, Nestor. Well, it's no surprise, that Johnny's got a legal background, that I think that there's this sort of natural fit between lawyers and HR professionals. Because as Johnny wrote in his book, which I'm kind of halfway through, I'm enjoying very much, it's, both, when there's problems, you go to lawyers and you go to HR professionals. Both of them are the ones you turn to when you've got some problems that you need solving. And so I think that, the tools that HR managers use, it's the legal system, it's the compliance, the rules and regulations that have to be followed, and then the court process that is used when there's a problem. But I think, to answer your question, we're really in somewhat unprecedented times when it comes to some of the questions. The tools are the same, but the questions and the facts that are being brought to the lawyers now are a little bit different, because you've never had to deal with issues. You've always had to deal with workplace safety, right? But you never really had to deal with, is it safe for even a customer to come into your business? That's a workplace safety issue now. And so when businesses have to respond to that and respond to government restrictions, they go to the lawyers, and the lawyers we have to do the best we can to kind of guide them through the process. But we're using the same advice that we've used in other contexts and other times, but just in this context. And I think that it's it's important for lawyers to be there for their companies. But it's also important to understand that, there may not be any definite answers to some of these questions, and you have to kind of utilize the system and follow the rules as best you can. That's why, this upcoming conference is so important. What we're doing for the first time ever, at least for the SHRM Guam chapter, is we've partnered with the District Court of Guam to produce this event that's going to be so informative and is going to provide so much guidance to the community, not only the HR professionals, but also the legal professionals, because we're going to have lots of great content on the legal side to kind of show you sort of how cases are best analyzed, even though we don't necessarily have definite answers because courts haven't really fully resolved some of these issues that are now before the businesses. But we'll guide you through the process and show you how you can utilize the tools of the legal system to kind of help you through this process. So this upcoming conference is going to be really exciting and really great for everyone. We hope everyone will sign up for it.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah. And Johnny, what do you think will be the long-term impact of the pandemic? Will there be some fundamental changes in the way you do your HR business?
Well, there's no question. Mike, thank you. I got to tell you, having a lawyer amongst us is really important because, as you pointed out, the reality is we don't know. I mean, unlike times past when there's very clear legal sort of precedent, we don't have it now. More importantly, the scientific community can't even reach agreement about these issues, which makes it even more difficult for those of us who are in HR practice to figure this out because the lawyers don't have an answer, the HR people don't have an answer because the scientists don't have an answer, and the only people who are spouting things are the politicians. So a lot of work for us to do. But how the world is going to change is really related to that. One, all of our laws are going to be revisited when it comes to employment. The question about who is an employee, what is work, what can we mandate versus what can we strongly encourage? All of those questions, what are the occupational and safety and health sort of issues at play here with the pandemic and all of the various, so I can tell you the law, a revisiting of all employment law is really what's going to fall upon us going forward. The other area is, frankly, remote work. We've got to figure that all out. This is a very new concept for us, albeit 18 months into this, we're still trying to figure it out. The answer isn't remote or not, it's hybrid. And what are the implications for hybrid workforces? What are the DE&I implications of people working remotely and their experience versus people who actually are in the workplace every day? There are just so many issues. So those two issues are top of mind. And then finally, culture. When you get past the legal requirements, how do we create cultures in our workplaces now that the workplace is very different? It might be in your living room or it might be in a cubicle somewhere. And just making that all come together is what we think we're going to wrestle with in the future.
Yeah, so many issues. Let me just go around the room real quick and talk to each one of the local chapter members and tell me one thing that you hope will be your takeaway from this conference that's going to discuss so many different things. Let me start with you, Daph.
Cool. There are so many things I think that I would want to take away from the conference, but I think the most important thing is this conversation about DE&I and how important it is for our organizations, right? It's a very new concept for Guam. It's not that it doesn't exist, but we're not talking about it. And so I feel like that conversation needs to be had. And what we're doing is we're facilitating a leadership workshop the day before the conference to kind of get some idea about how our local leaders feel or what they know about DE&I and what they're doing. And then the following day at the conference, we're going to address it with our HR professionals. So I think that would be a big takeaway from the conference is understanding how we start these conversations and what we can do to promote DE&I initiatives in the workplace.
Okay, how about you, Yoli?
I think for me, we talk about empathy and we talk about how do we become or how do we learn how to be empathetic? And I think collaboration and hearing from each other, my biggest takeaway is I hope that people are inspired to connect with each other. Sometimes it feels like you're in this alone because there are so many unknowns. You struggle, right? And sometimes that leads to fear, it leads to burnout. And so I'm really hoping that if there's one takeaway that all HR professionals and those who serve, and maybe even those who serve who don't know as much as an HR professional might, that they take away collaboration, they take away connection, and they leave feeling inspired and ready to tackle, what's to come, the unknown. So that's what I hope is the biggest takeaway for our HR professionals and those attending.
And you, Michael?
I think the theme of our conference, Inspire, is really what I hope will be the message that everyone will take away. And that we have a tendency to kind of dwell on the problems that we're facing or look to past ways that we've addressed issues. But what we need to do is to move forward, and we need to think about the future and take this as an opportunity to kind of reimagine, where we are and how we can do things, and just completely, as Johnny's book, the title of Johnny's book is Perfect Reset, because we're really in a position now where we have the opportunity to kind of use this as a moment, to move forward and look towards the future. So I think that if you come away from the conference with that attitude, thinking, okay, we're going to look forward and we're going to figure out what's the best way that we can kind of restructure and move forward, I think that's going to be a success.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
Okay. And Johnny, they're bringing you in here to solve all of our issues. Okay. So what will be your specific message during your keynote during the conference?
Well, there's so many, but let me tell you, because it's everything that my colleagues have talked about, but destigmatizing mental health. That is a real opportunity for us as a profession, not just for our employees, but for HR professionals. We have been under intense stress for the last 18 months. And sometimes the cobbler's kids have no shoes. So we're not focused on taking care of our mental health during this COVID pandemic. And I'm concerned because we're seeing real burnout with HR professionals. They're so busy giving that they're not taking care of themselves. So I hope in addition to everything that they walk away with, that they're inspired to take care of their wellness, both their physical wellness and their mental wellness.
Yeah. Let me just ask you, have you had an opportunity to speak with HR professionals in the United States mainland recently? And what's your sense, what have you been getting from them?
Yeah, they're tired. I think Daphne put it right. They're exhausted. And it's because everyone's pulling on them, but they're at once, and I'm the optimist like Mike, they're also, this is carpe diem, seize the day. It's the opportunity for us to reset our mindset. It's a total opportunity to become that really critical function business function that we always knew we were, but now it appears that the rest of the world is acknowledging it. So we're hearing exhaustion, but also a level of excitement and inspiration. They're indeed inspired by their work because we know that it matters.
Yeah. I feel so much smarter talking to all you guys this morning, just a good way to start my day. Yoli, we've got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to end this with you, since you're the one that coordinated this conference. Invite all your colleagues out there to come, and why should they show up?
Thank you. I urge all leaders, really it starts from the top. And so if our leaders hear us today and understand, a little bit more about HR professionals and what we have experienced over this, this period of time, I say reach out to your HR professionals and let them know you are registering them for our conference. We are focused also on our legal team. We want lawyers to come out, and they're going to be able to get some credits for the time that they spend with us. We are looking at our emerging professionals. We want to support them with programming. So we invite all of them to come and take a seat at the table with us. And of course, our HR professionals, this is really focused on giving back and allowing them to feel inspired. So if you haven't registered yet, please register today. Go to our website, and we really encourage you to take one day of next week with us so that you can leave feeling inspired.
All right. Good sales pitch there. That's Yoli Perdonis, the president-elect of the SHRM Guam chapter. Daphne Leon Guerrero is the president, the outgoing president. Mike Pangilinan, he's an attorney and a board member of SHRM. And of course, the keynote speaker and the president and CEO of the National SHRM Organization, Johnny Taylor Jr., who will be the keynote speaker at this event. Hey, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Nestor.
Thank you so much, Nestor.
All right, I'm Nestor Licanto. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week on In Full Zoom.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.